real quick. All right, so for anyone who is new or just as a little reminder, we do Q&As at the end, and you can add your questions in either the Q&A box or in just the chat box, and I'll get to them at the end there. So that'll be really simple, but you can add them at any time. So if a question pops into your head and you don't want to forget it, feel free to jot it down. I will bring them up and about at the end. So, oh, good. I'm so glad you're enjoying these webinars, Phyllis. I'm glad to hear that. That like makes my heart sing, just because I do them to help people. And so it's nice to know that they're actually helpful. So, all right, it's 4:30, so we are going to get started. I know some people will probably join us as we go through. So that will be fun, but I want to jump in and take good care of y'all's time. So I am going to turn off my camera so that you guys can see the full session here, the full PowerPoint. So first things first, we're going to talk about Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter today and how to optimize them. But I want to talk about the 3 big mistakes that I've seen all business owners make. The first one is trying to do everything at once. So that could be a million things, but specifically trying to pick every platform to be on. I've just really found that that can be super difficult, and each of them require slightly different approaches. And so if you try to do everything at once, oftentimes it can just get really overwhelming. So that's one big mistake I see. I even do it myself oftentimes. The second thing I see is people assuming that followers or likes automatically translate to sales. This can get really, really frustrating for business owners and for social media marketers, because we want to help your business grow. And so we're honestly often just as frustrated when we don't see the outcomes that we want. But a good thing to know when you're planning social media and when you're choosing where to go and what to do on those platforms is to remember that followers and likes just essentially are top of funnel tools and metrics there. And so it's your job to then engage with those followers and engage with those likes to really translate them into sales. So it's not your final conversion point. And if it is, then you must be doing something really awesome and great. So definitely keep those in mind. And then the third thing is that oftentimes people will keep the social media platforms and goals disconnected from their business and marketing goals. And so they just don't really build on anything. And so it might be like, okay, I want to get, 500 likes for my Facebook page. Okay, that's awesome. Now, what business goal is that supporting? If you get 500 likes, does that mean that you have a system in place to follow up with each of the people who like your page? Are you going to offer something to people who engage in a certain way on your Instagram? Like, what is it that's going to actually translate to sales and not just these vanity metrics? Because you could have a million followers, but if none of them are going to purchase what you're selling or engage with you, then you might as well have no one. Then it's just kind of like a nice little ego boost. So those are the 3 things that I really see a lot of business owners, and oftentimes myself included, make when we approach social media. So that's just one thing I really like to kind of zone in on before we dive into the how-tos of each platform. And so because of that, there's 5 practical things that I want to encourage you to do before you even touch your platform. So the first one is going to write down your business goals, marketing goals, and social media goals, and make sure that they're all connected to your marketing and social goals, because they ultimately want to support your business goals, right? And so if you need some help with that, I have a social media goal worksheet that I'll send out with the follow-up email, but it'll help you to build out some of those goals to make them really, really helpful. The second thing that I encourage you to do is to audit your current profiles. Where are you getting the most engagement? What businesses or clients have you closed from a certain platform? It's really great when I can track back and say, okay, this person connected with me through this Facebook, post or through this Facebook group that I was engaged with. And so I can tell that it's worth my time to spend time on Facebook, whereas Pinterest hasn't actually brought in any clients for me. So while it's really important for me to utilize and to keep myself updated on because I provide that service to clients, it's not necessarily where I'm focusing a lot of my own marketing as well. So thinking through those kinds of things. Ask your previous clients or peers or anyone that you've worked with or would like to work with kind of where they search for your services. So if you have friends, for example, who are people who would be your ideal clients in some cases, ask them how they typically search for something, or even just ask a friend or a family member, hey, this is what I do. If you were to be looking, like if you were to go look for that, where would you find it? You know, it really depends. So like Pinterest is great. I pretty much designed my whole apartment using Pinterest, and that was really helpful. And so if I were a furniture salesperson or business, then I would really want to focus on things like Pinterest or Instagram. So thinking through those kinds of things and asking around. The fourth thing is I would really encourage you to get in the habit of spending time on each of these platforms. I've run into a lot of people who honestly and totally transparently say, I just hate social media. And I totally get that. And if you're going to hire someone else to run your social media, then you know that's okay and that's not a big deal. But if you're going to really be a part of your platforms, which I highly encourage you to be involved in some level, you have to be involved on them. They're called social media for a reason. It's to be social. And then the fifth thing I want to encourage you to do is to pick 2 platforms that you want to focus your attention on to promote your business for the next 90 days. The reason I say 90 days is because that is going to be enough time for you to really hone in, do some practical tools and posts and share content, and then be able to evaluate how effective it is. And again, you can use this social media goal worksheet that I'm going to send out to really work through that. It'll just be kind of a good guide. Okay, so now that we've talked about that, I want to talk a little bit more about the actual platforms themselves. And remember, if you attend this webinar, you do get a free 30-minute consultation call with me. So I'd be happy to talk to you about any of these things in detail about your specific platforms and your business. But we're going to go step by step through how to optimize Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter today. And then we can kind of follow up at a later date. Okay, so first up we have Facebook. So a little bit of background on the platform. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it. It's still the primary platform for most Americans on social media, and 74% of Facebook users visit the site daily. So being involved on the platform is really helpful. And even though Facebook's had some serious data issues, it's still up by 13% year after year, which is pretty impressive. But something that's really cool that Facebook does, where your Facebook page is helpful, is it serves as a microsite within the platform that can really complement well your brand and your website and really highlight pieces of your business. That's really helpful. And so overall, it's really not going to go anywhere, whether you utilize it for one of your top marketing tools, or if you just kind of have it to keep up to date. It's really good to use, especially because a lot of times people, when they search for content or search for someone or a service, Facebook will often show up. So that can be really helpful. Today we're going to talk about the profile picture, the cover photo, usernames, description fields, how to update all of your content there, and we'll go slide by slide through it all. So let's get started. The first thing you want to update is your profile picture. So this should be something branded and easily recognizable, and 180 by 180 is the ideal pixel amount. So making sure you have that is really important, because otherwise it can get really pixelated or just kind of look weird. So the way you update it is you go into your profile and you see this icon here, and if you hover over it, it'll have an update button. You just click that. And then once you're there, you can choose where you want to update your photo from. So if it's the photo that you already have on the platform or within your page, you can choose from your photos, or if it's a new photo that you want to upload, you just click upload there. Next, you find the photo that you want to upload and you put it in, and then you're going to want to resize it. So this is where it's helpful to already have it in those correct dimensions, but you can definitely go in and kind of tweak it if there's certain things that you want to showcase, or if there's more of that logo that you want to expand on, or things like that. So that's kind of a very simple way to go through and update that. All right. Awesome. We have a question, Meg. I'm going to get to those at the end, but that is a great question. So hold on to that. So for the header image, we are going to do kind of the same thing, but it's going to be 820 by 312 pixels kind of dimension that you'll want to work with. And if you have a designer or anyone like that that you're working with, they'll know what all this means. Or if you use a tool like Canva, you can go in and create custom dimensions, and they often already have all these up. So you can just click header image, it'll have the right one. But what's cool about this space is that you can add words and information to this image, and so it's important to do it wisely. So taking the time to structure it well is really good. So for example, this down here, I know it's kind of small, but this is my header, or as it was, and you'll see that black icon in the top left corner there. You'll click onto that to update it, and just like the profile picture, it'll have a drop down and you select where you want to choose your image from. So mine was already in there, and so this is kind of what it would look like if it was already within your page. And then this is the new image. So as you can see, it has words on it. So I could leave it as just that beautiful kind of stock photo there, but I really want to promote these digital marketing mini sessions. I want to help more and more people get to know and understand how to market their businesses online. And so I want that to be front and center. And what's really cool about Facebook as well is that you can actually add multiple images. So I could keep that Shopify website one up there and have it as a second carousel image. So if you have multiple things coming up, you can definitely put them in there and it'll automatically rotate, which is really, really helpful. Kind of like you would see as a slider on a website. The nice thing about Facebook too is you can also put a video in there. So if you have something specific that you want people to see, or you know, like an elevator pitch or something like that, you can include it there, and that can be really helpful. But again, quality is everything. So making sure that whatever you're putting in here is of high quality is really, really important. It shows a good first impression. So that's the header image. The next thing is the custom URL or username. And this is something that should be really easy to identify. Westfall Digital Strategies is mine, and that makes it easy for people to search me in Facebook. But it's also what I use across all platforms. So you would just go into your About section here, which is on the left-hand side of your page. It'll take you to this general tab, and you can click edit in there and update it. So it should be pretty simple. Let me go back real quick. And you can update it there. Ideally, these would be the same usernames across all platforms. You'll see very soon that I was not able to do that for my name because it's so long, but some kind of similar variation is really important. So if you're able to use the same custom URL across platforms. Next, we're going to talk about this description field. So you'll see on your page that there's a description and then there's a story field. And so this is going to be the shorter description field. Again, you'll go into that About section and it'll be under the More Info, and you can edit that. And think of this as your elevator pitch. This is a short, you know, couple sentence. I think it's like 250 words or characters. And it's just something short, sweet, to the point, really helpful, and tells people who you are and what you're about. The next one is all these important platforms. So this is kind of what you'll see under that edit section of the About page. And so this is where you have like your business story and any kind of awards or other accounts that you have, any information about your business. Filling this out as completely as you can is really helpful, not only because it shows people more about your business, but as people search for you online or on Facebook, this kind of information will be helpful to pop up. So for your business story, you can either write it from scratch, or what I did is I took the About page from my website and I copied and pasted it in here, and I just tweaked it a little bit to make more sense for this audience, but it was really simple. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel there. All right, so the next thing you want to do is make sure you have the right template for your page. So you probably did this when you were first starting your page, but if you accidentally picked the wrong one, like I realized when I was going through this, I was like, wait a minute, I don't have some of the things I thought I had. And so I actually had movies instead of business. And so it is really helpful to know that. And so I went in and I updated my template. Because I wasn't a movie, I'm a business. So you just go to the settings up at the top right-hand corner. It'll take you to this page and go to templates and tabs. And under here, you'll be able to click into the templates there and select which one you need. And so mine is that business one. I click that and it automatically shifted all of my content. And anything that wasn't a part of this template, that was a part of the one I had previously, disappeared, but everything that was the same stayed. So just keep that in mind. And I had to go in and kind of update it. So then you want to update your content. So for example, the business one allows you to list your products. And so I went in and updated those. So that's really, really helpful. Okay, next on Facebook, I see we have another question. We'll get to those at the end, but you guys are asking some great questions. Okay, so Facebook, your call to action. So that's this big blue button right over here on the right-hand corner underneath your header. And this is great for just directing people to your website. People are typically, if they're familiar with Facebook, are naturally gonna know, okay, if I click on that, it's gonna take me to their website, or if they have a video or something like that. And you have different options of what to pick. So it's simple, you just click on it, you edit the button, you put in the URL, select what you want it to say, and then you can save it, make sure that you save it, and then it'll update it immediately. So if you go to my Facebook page, it'll actually take you to the mini sessions, because that's what I want people to be a part of. That's what I want them to check out. You can put your website there. If you already have your website on the page, if you have something that you're promoting, this is a great button to pick. And put something that you're promoting, because you already have your website on your page. So that's just kind of little insights there. All right, so the next one, oh, where did it go? Come on. There we go. Okay, share your updated page. So this is something that, as I've talked to a couple different business owners and clients, people are kind of scared to share their page. I recently shared it, and I shared it the first time around when I started the page with my entire friend list, and then I shared it again earlier this week. And you guys, when I checked on this morning, I had 32 new followers and likes on my page just because I shared it with people. Yes, some of them, most of them are friends or family or people who I know probably aren't looking for my services. But here's the thing, I've gotten clients through Facebook, where people who didn't know that I had this business until they liked my page were able to then recommend me for projects. So I actually got $1,000 project client to go through this, all because a friend of mine who wasn't looking for my services, but who knew someone who was, saw my Facebook page, knew that I have this business, and was able to help them. So don't discount your network. And honestly, here's the thing too. If people don't want to like your page, that's totally fine. They just will ignore or decline the invitation, and you won't know one way or the other. So I really encourage you, invite your entire list if you can. Obviously, think wisely through what your business is and how you've connected with people on Facebook. It makes sense for most of my friends, they're college friends or high school friends, things like that. So it doesn't seem that weird, but use your best judgment there. The other thing too with that is don't spam people. So don't, every month go in and invite your entire friends list. That's obnoxious. But if you do know that you've connected with some new people on Facebook that would be ideal clients for you, go ahead, invite them to your page, or anyone who likes any of your content, especially if you promote content, invite them. And so that can be really, really helpful. Okay, so I know that's a lot for Facebook. I know we have a couple questions about Facebook, but again, we'll come back to them at the end. So continue to ask them in those Facebook and chat, or I'm sorry, in those question and answer and chat sections here. But let's move on to the Instagram profile. All right, Instagram, one of my favorites. So 1 billion people use Instagram every month, which is a lot, and it reaches about 112.5 million users in 2020. So that's kind of crazy. When I see these numbers, they just boggle my mind. And so you can kind of see that age breakdown there. Obviously, we see a lot of millennials and Gen Z are on Instagram, but there's a lot of our older generations as well getting on that platform. And more men are joining Instagram as well. I remember when it first came out, a lot of guys, just for whatever reason, were like, hesitant to join, but more and more people are seeing Instagram and are really interested in being a part of it. And again, I'll share that link that's put there with 36 other interesting statistics about Instagram, but it's just really helpful as you're kind of planning through whether or not to use it. So we're going to go through just a couple ways that we can update your profiles and make the most out of it. Okay, so the first one, surprise, surprise, profile picture. You guys will quickly see that there is a theme with the profile pictures. So for Instagram, the ideal pixels are 110 by 110, and it should be branded, but the thing about Instagram that's a little different than Facebook is you can put a photo of you, for example. So like a lot of photographers, they will put a picture of them with a camera or as they're taking a picture or something like that. So it doesn't necessarily have to be your logo, but something that's branded and makes sense. So that's really helpful to note there. I personally have just picked to use my logo because that's how I want to build my brand out. But you can use pictures of yourself or something similar. So the way to edit it, the easiest way, honestly, is to do it through your phone. So you go to your edit profile, and then you'll click on the update your profile picture, and you'll select where you want to pick it from, typically from your library. Again, you'll select your image, and you'll be able to reposition it. So if you want to zoom in or zoom out, but this is also where it's helpful to have the dimensions already set, and then you'll just save, done. And it's updated. Super simple. You can update it as you need to. It's great. All right, the next one is keyworded names. This is kind of maybe new to some people, but you could do a variety of things. So I already have Westfall Digital Strategies, and it takes up too many letters for me to add much more to it. But the nice thing is that digital and strategies is in the name there. And so hopefully anyone who's looking for things like digital marketing strategies or what have you, that'll pop up. So that can be really helpful. If you have questions about what that might be for your business, feel free to reach out to me, but that can be a helpful tool that not a lot of people think about. The next one is to update your bio. So it's that short little blurb at the top there. And so the best way to use this space is to just be yourself, show a little bit of your personality, use some hashtags that can be really helpful as well and people are looking for specific things, and use what makes sense. So, you know, I really enjoy coffee, and I help people with digital marketing, email, social media, and I'm based in DC, and so it makes sense for me to include that content. So being able to go through and update that, that's really helpful. Okay, I know, I don't know where that was taking us. There we go. So the next thing is to include a call to action in your bio. So that's where I have get to know us. And so I created on my website a page just for my Instagram links. And if you go and click that content there, you'll be able to see kind of how I've done that. But a couple other things that can be helpful are apps like Milkshake or Linktree. These are both really great tools that can create multiple links for that single link you get. So you can only put one link in your Instagram bio, but these apps, and there's many more like them, allow you to put more than one link. So that's really helpful if you have multiple things that you're sharing or you want to take people to different places. That's a really fun thing to do, but including that action to say, hey, here's what I want you to do, you know, let's talk, let's chat, get to know us, what have you. So that's a really simple way to update that as well. The next thing is to use your highlights. So those are the little circles here on your page. And if you don't have any highlights yet, they won't show up, but it's a really great place to update and share content that you don't necessarily want on your feed, but that you want people to be able to access regularly. So these are things that you share in your stories, and then you can save them to these highlights. So if you want a little bit more info on how to do that exactly, I'll share a link that kind of takes you through that in the follow-up email, or feel free to shoot me an email. I'd be happy to walk you through that. I've done that with quite a few clients. I've kind of done these consulting calls on, okay, how do I set up my highlights? What do I create? That kind of stuff. And you can go check mine out on my Instagram and see kind of what they look like. So it can also create a little bit of a human aspect to your profile. Okay, so next we have Twitter. Some interesting facts about Twitter are that they have where'd they go? There we go. They have 145 million monetizable daily active users, which is crazy. And 22% of adults in the US use Twitter. So it's just a really interesting platform. And 12% of Americans get their news from Twitter. So if you really want to stay up to date on what people are consuming, or if there's something that you share that's kind of newsworthy, that can be a really great platform to be on. So we're going to go through, talk a little bit about how to update that profile. So again, profile picture. Same deal. You want it to be branded. You want it to show off something about you. And you go through, update your profile, click edit, select the correct photo, and reposition it. So making sure that you do that. And ideally, it's going to be 400 by 400 pixels. So that will just help you when you're creating the right dimensions. The next thing is your header image. So a lot like Facebook, this is some great marketing space. And so if you have something in particular that you want to share, putting it in there is really important. So as you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, it covers up that 75%, which is not terrible, but knowing that as you're designing these headers is really helpful. So if you had important information that people wouldn't be able to figure out, that was hidden by your profile picture, that's just something I see sometimes that can just really be frustrating and doesn't look that great. It kind of, tells people that you're not paying attention to details oftentimes. So that can just be something small that can be really helpful. All right, the next thing is the bio. And so a lot like Instagram or any other bio, this is where people are going to learn more about you and how people can find you. So you see I went from the one on the left to the one on the right where I have more hashtags talking about what I do, encouraging people to sign up for the mini sessions and having that link there. And so just updating that to really showcase you more and more and have people be able to find you easily. Oh, there we go. Link and location. So really simple, adding the link that you want. So like I said, I added the Zoom webinar sign up in there, and it just allows you to add one. So you could, add that link tree again or anything like that, but just putting that one thing in there that you want people to click into. And then adding your location can also be really helpful. If people are searching for something in particular in a specific area, if your location is on there, whether they're searching in Google or on Twitter, you're more likely to pop up if you have that information. So that's really helpful. So the next thing that you can do is to enable your tweets to be public and allow people to send you direct messages. So you just do that by going into settings, going into privacy and safety, and then making sure that protect your tweets is not clicked, but that received messages from anyone is clicked. And the reason you want to do this is so that people can find your tweets, find your profile, and they can reach out to you. So if someone wants to ask you about your services, or they have a comment or something that they want to talk to you about, being able to send you a direct message is really helpful. All right, I know we're getting to the end here, so I'm going to speed through because I want to get to your questions. All right, so use your keywords in your name. So as you can see, I went from lowercase, kind of what is that name, to Westfall Digital Strategies, a marketing agency. So people know what I do, and if they're looking for a marketing agency, this will pop up. And then you want to pin a tweet to your profile. And so the pin tweet is essentially an announcement. And so it just never moves until you unpin it. So again, like I really want to help small businesses grow their digital presence. And so pinning the information about these webinars to the top of my Twitter feed is really helpful because that'll be the first thing that they see. So any announcements, things like that is really helpful. Okay, we are finally to the Q&A session, and I know we've got a couple of them, so we're going to jump right in. And if you have more questions, feel free to send them in. And if you need to leave at 5, I totally understand. There will be a recording of this that I'll send out, so you can get all your questions answered there. But first, we have Meg. If you are a brand, you recommend a headshot over a logo, and I believe this was for Facebook. So if you are your brand, yeah, I think a headshot would be great. Making sure that it is the highest quality and still the correct dimensions. I think that that's an awesome thing. And allowing it to show a little bit of your personality. That's what I'm finding more and more as well, depending upon your profession. Obviously, if you're working with a lot of corporate executives where a very super professional headshot is ideal, go with that. If you're doing a little bit more maybe design or something creative, or you can show a little bit more personality, doing a professional headshot that allows you to showcase that personality can be really helpful. So it's a great question, Meg. All right, Lori, you asked, what if you already have a Facebook page that is super family oriented? So I'd probably ask a little bit more elaboration on that. But I would say if it's something that's super family oriented, including content like a profile picture or a header picture that maybe showcases some of those family things, and creating content and creative images around that can be really, really helpful there. So follow up with me if that didn't quite answer your question. Meg, another great question is, if you are a brick and mortar offering only in person, should you focus your social media likes only on locals, or is it volume regardless of location still smart? That's a great question. So I would definitely say focusing on local things. So that's where like having your location can be really helpful, is great. But the other thing too is people might come and visit. And so especially if you're in the DC area, having that volume that reaches farther locations and attracting those out of town people, people who are coming to visit can be really helpful. So I wouldn't necessarily limit yourself, but definitely knowing that your ideal client is going to be local is really helpful. All right, so what's best, a JPEG or a PNG for photos? It's a great question, Florence. Either one works well. I would just make sure that it's the highest resolution possible. And if one doesn't look good, see if you can convert it to the other and see how it optimizes there. I know for Canva, when I use Canva, I download it typically as a PNG, just because one, that's the first thing, but also I find that it's the higher quality for photo. All right, Davine, let's see. What was the name of a programmer app you mentioned that resizes images with a C? Oh, Canva. Canva is the great one. So it's like Canvas, but without the S at the end. I'll make sure to link that in the email as well. All right, is it necessary to post on both your individual and business page on Facebook? So it's a great question. I would say something that I do a lot of times will be I'll post something maybe from the business page and share it from my individual page. And that can be really helpful on Facebook. And going through, kind of going through the process of thinking, okay, is this something that I as an individual want my, network of people? So do I want my aunt and my uncle, is this relevant to them? Would they care? I'll share it on both maybe. But if it's something that's just business oriented, I'll typically share it on Facebook. Or if it's just something about my life, obviously we'll just share that on my individual feed. So that's a great question. We had a couple others. Do you do anything with LinkedIn? I do, and next week we will actually be covering LinkedIn. So we will go through all of that then. All right, I know it's 5:02, so if anyone is, has to go or something like that, feel free to hop out. But if you have any other questions, please feel free to send me an email. Again, I will be sending this entire recording, plus all the links and information and recording, a PowerPoint of this with the follow-up email. And next week, we are going to be talking about LinkedIn, Pinterest, and TikTok. So if you're interested in learning how to optimize those profiles or even how to use those platforms to market your business, please make sure to come back next week. And I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful Thursday, and stay safe. The corona is still out there. So I hope you guys have a great day. All right.